Hello and welcome to Night Clerk Radio. This is episode 134, Advanced Dungeons and Dragons Promotional Music. Well, it's a whole thing. I'm, of course, here with my good friend and co-host, Burke. How are you doing, Burke? Have you seen any Dungeons or Dragons lately?
No, not since high school, really.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, you're back in your element, though.
Yeah.
Well, tabletop role-playing games, not Dungeons and Dragons specifically.
Yeah.
But
I have played a bit of 5th Ed over the last year, but...
have you? Oh, I guess so.
Yeah. My friend Dan has run the D&D campaign in 5th Ed. And I'm not running it, so I'm like, fine, it's great. I don't have to... I could just sit here and...
And 5th Ed has much less, like, cognitive overhead than previous versions. Like, I played a fuckload of 3.5. Like, AD&D, like, late 2E through 3.5 and 8th grade through, I don't know, second year of college. I could never sit down and do that shit now. That and like 3rd Ed Shadowrun are the two big games in our group. And I can never sit down. Like I just get I get optimization sniped by those games as soon as like system mastery kind of matters. I get real into like, if I take this feat and this feat, I do this. And then I do this. I multi-class at this level. Then I get an extra feat because I abuse this hit die roll. That sort of nonsense, which I loved at the time, but I would never do now. And I don't really play tabletop games much anymore. But that's why I always like, like when we play like Delta Green and stuff. You kind of have to have like the right skills that make sense for your character, but there's not like this whole hyper optimization meta layer over everything. Did you ever see the character optimization boards in the 3rd Ed era of D&D? Sure. The Wizards of the Coast forums. That was 100% became its own subculture, its own game, really, to make the most broken build you could. Yeah. So it's not even like looking back at it. I'm just, I guess, talking to talk, get my voice warmed up before we get into the. But like looking back at it, I'm not even sure it was really fun anymore at some point. I think because one of the last campaigns we played, I made this like Valve Poverty Were Tiger. Oh, yeah. So, like, all the monster rules were really broken because they're, like, half-baked. And then Valve Poverty was this,
a monk
kind of monk, well,
for
it didn't have to be...
Oh, was it?
No, it was in Book of Exalted Deeds. And anybody could be Valve Poverty. You just had to not own magic items. You basically couldn't own, like, more than, like, 10 gold worth of stuff was, like, the rule. And then you had to, like, stick to other things. But I think you could play it on anything. I mean, I did play it on a monk because I had like claws as natural weapons and monk was broken at the time. But the thing is, like, it's one of those things where it's actually not broken as written. I don't know. Nobody's going to care about this, but it's fine. It's not broken as written, but like most game masters don't give you the correct amount of material, like magic items, because they're scared of you becoming too strong. So you end up too strong because you have... You basically get all this stuff as if you had the items, but you don't have to actually find them. So it's a little broken. It's very exciting. Anyway, it was a very good era of gaming, and thank God it's back. Thank you, Stranger Things.
D&D will never leave us.
No.
Once and future king of role-playing games. Nothing will compare to it in the 80s, but at the heyday of this, which is when our topic comes into play. So, but you had something before that?
No, I was just going to say, I think you said exactly what I was going to say, is that the 80s were a particularly odd era of D&D, which is what the tape you're about to introduce, because you found this, right?
Yes.
And is it having like a renaissance because there's like a bunch of more recent things written about it? So I don't know if it's like a 40 years later type thing.
I don't know exactly. So I found out about this through one of the other podcasts I do, Luddo Narrative Dissidence, where my co-host James Wallace, who is British, he mentioned this album in we do a monthly live stream for our fans, and where we just talk about whatever comes to mind. And this came up. I don't remember the exact context for it. And so I was curious about it. I listened to it, and it's very interesting as an album. And so I did a little research of this. And so this is the album Advanced Dungeons and Dragons First Quest, the music cassette. There's also a vinyl release of the same music.
Yep. And not to be confused with a CD with the exact same name, but completely different tracks.
Yeah.
They also made another thing called The First Quest.
Yeah, and that was like
90s.
10 years later.
Yeah.
And that was like meant to be like an intro to D&D. And so this was a music album that also had a scenario in the liner notes. And it was made in 1985. And this is like sort of the height of TSR's popularity and, wealth and influence. Gary Gygax was just doing lines of cocaine in LA and just living high on the hog on the company's dime. And but this was a UK release.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think this actually came about as like talking about obscure D&D releases because, James talked about the most obscure, the rarest D&D module, official release, was a scenario called Up the Garden Path or something like that. And it was released only in the UK as a collaboration with like one of the big gardens in England. And so like to celebrate, we're having this grand party or festival celebrating this garden, there's an official D&D module for it. And obviously the Venn diagram of D&D and garden fans was not very big. And it was a bad module. It was not very well written. It was very jokey, And so not many people bought it. And so that's why it's like the rarest one you can get on the market. And, obviously quite valuable these days for, all those completionists who want all of the official publications. But this was up there, too, in terms of rare releases, because this was released and they just didn't sell many, and it never was released to the U.S. It was all UK-only release.
Okay.
Like TSR UK was an interesting company because they also did White Dwarf magazine for a while before Games Workshop bought it out. And like the UK gaming scene back in the 80s was very different than the American gaming scene. So, but this album is a D&D module and an album, and it's a double album. It's over 80 minutes of music spread over these two releases, but somebody's digitized it and uploaded it to YouTube, and probably you can find it in other places. So you can listen to them, which is how I listen to it. And yeah, it's a weird project.
Weird album.
Yes.
The whole history of it was very interesting to me. Continue on your point, like being from the UK and then James being the one that pointed it out to you makes total sense. But also like, this is a thing that has to be somewhat removed. I'm assuming I was looking for like some sort of 40th anniversary oral history or something related to it. There's really not, like, it's not talked about a whole lot other than little like 2 or 3 paragraph kind of like blog posts here and there.
Yeah.
Because I really wanted to know, like, how does something like this happen? Because it's so antithetical to how I think about like Gary Gygax and how he thought about D&D at the time, because he was very, at least initially, maybe by now was making so much money he didn't care. But I know like in the early 80s, he was very against it drifting away from its like very serious war game type themes, because it's how it started out as like a small scale adaptation of a war game. Because like those early, I very distinctly remember, I don't know if we've brought it up on the show because I have no reason to talk about D&D here very often, but there's like one of the Red books has an introduction by him that is one of my favorite pieces of RPG writing, because it's like, you may be tempted to give your character like a meaningful name and backstory and personality, but you should know that this is all irrelevant, for they are, just fodder against the hordes of orcs, and all this rising role playing is nonsense. Just fight the orcs. Stop thinking about So to do like this module with a soundtrack, it has to be an idea that came from somewhere else, which is interesting to me. So this TSR UK group came up with it, which also makes sense because there's a lot of UK names in this, which also makes sense. And they feels like they didn't have much money. As an album, going to the actual music itself, I think the first thing I would say is that it is all over the place.
Yes.
It is all over the place. And I thought you picked it honestly because it sounded like proto dungeon synth, but it doesn't. It actually doesn't.
There are a couple of tracks that do, but like most of it is not. Yeah.
You can get close, and that makes sense because the actual artists involved come from like a completely different musical interest and background than the people who made like the early dungeon synth in the 80s. It's more like John Carpenter-y, like experimental, like sight synth pop-ish of the time. It's way brighter at times than I expected, sometimes to the point of like its detriment, where songs sound out of place. It's got really great narration by Valentine Dial, who's like an English character actor who I know from the Peter Sellers Casino Royale. And then I think he was in like a couple Christopher Lee horror movies of like the 60s era, just kind of on set there too.
Yeah.
So that like narration's fun. The narration's almost nostalgic because it made me think of a time when I didn't worry about being a hack, because it's very tropey, like the adventurers go to the tomb of the Lich and blah, blah, blah. They had to sneak past the sleeping dragon, like very straightforward. I would never run like a trope lane game like that. I'd be so self-conscious about it. Like you're so media poisoned at this point. So like that kind of stuff is interesting. It's just a weird album. It's a weird album.
Yeah.
End episode. Roll credits.
Oh yeah, we're done. Okay. No. So I think again, like this is like 1985. This is like the mid 80s, and like I say, I think one of the reasons why this came about because TSR UK was far from Gary Gygax's and TSR America purview. They could do their own thing, and two, I think there was just this like gold rush of merch that they wanted to shove out the door to just cash in as quickly as possible. Did you know there was like an official D&D wood burning set?
I did not. That's amazing.
Yeah, here, I'll send you a picture. And like they put out all kinds of stuff, especially in the 80s, to capitalize, and they would just
holy shit
throw shit at a wall and to see what sticked. And I think this is along those lines.
Are these legally distinct? Oh, Nerds mascots. I thought they were legally distinct Yoshis for a second, but I see now. Sorry.
So, yeah, I think it came from those two things. We got to get stuff out the door to make, just have product to sell. And also, like, they didn't, like, role-playing was new, right? Like, they still didn't know what would work, what wouldn't. So, like, why not have an album? Why not have music? Like, a lot of people would put music on as they role-played, not
sure
in their pre-podcasting days, especially when you're just playing for your own amusement. And so what I think is they just got some session musicians, some composers or people that were available, made some calls and just threw together something like, all right, we can write. And okay, the one thing is I haven't been able to find a standalone PDF of the module, but like there are screenshots of the liner notes in the YouTube version. And like what I find fun, the funniest thing for me, the single funniest thing for me is that like this adventure is called First Quest. It's meant for 15th level characters.
Yeah, well, hey, what are you gonna do?
They're the 15th level characters are not exactly they have pre-generated characters for it. It's like, a paladin 15th level, a rogue 17th level, magic user 17th level, a 22nd level thief. Like it's
so fucking
not
fun.
Their first quest. Yeah.
It's like, even if you're 15th level, it's probably still difficult. It's like, what your introduction to the game is you just get a bunch of powers and they get curb stomped by goblins. That's beautiful.
Yeah. The first thing I want to say about this album, musically, is that I guess the idea was like you buy this thing, you'd read the module and you run it and you put this on as you run the module. And for that regard, this is absolutely terrible as a accompaniment to a role-playing game, because this is a really varied album and like it's 80 minutes, but like that's like one fight. Like that's like everyone sits down, introduced to their characters. They get through maybe one fight in 80 minutes. And there's so much happening. Like the best soundtracks for role playing is like ambient drone, like something consistent, like something that is interesting, but doesn't like draw your attention away from the game at hand. This is like terrible. It changes every track is so different from the last.
Yeah, and sometimes it doesn't even, I'll get all the negative-ish stuff, I guess, out of the way first, but like, and sometimes it doesn't even make sense. So I think the most jarring and hilarious to me is track A5, The Caravan by Dennis Haynes, who we'll talk about in a second. Because I got some words for that guy in a good way. Not in a mean way. It's just very funny. Yeah. But the narration starts out with, the party finds a caravan. They come across and they join and rest and reload and refresh themselves as they wait for their next adventure. So what do you expect, right? Something a little slower, a little calmer.
Yeah, like campfire music. Yeah.
Campfire music. Instead, we get the track The Caravan, which is like a sonic offcut. It's very jumpy and boppy and has this like strong, like upbeat, not just like upbeat in like tempo and feel, but like on the upbeats, which is like it's very strange.
Bells. Yeah. It's wild.
Like bells. There's like all these weird little FM synthesis, like saw waves. That's why I say it sounds like Sonic. It sounds like that Genesis era like FM synth. And then the next track, The Heroes Ride Out by Barry Guard, which I think is the only thing he did on this album, actually sounds like the music that should be the Caravan music.
Yeah.
It's the actual, like, kind of calm, pensive, like, we're sitting on our wagon across the desert to the next town music. I'm like, it's so all over the place. It's beautiful. It's beautiful.
So when I first listened to this album, when I got to the Caravan, that's when I was like, I need to send this to Burke. Burke, you need to, this would be good for an episode. Like, this is fucking wild.
This is not Caravan music. Like, what
it's
are we
not.
doing?
Yeah. We should definitely put a sample of that in there.
Yeah, sure. Here's some bit of Caravan. Doesn't this make you want to sit and chill?
Yeah, one thing we should mention is also there is a narrator for this by the actor Valentin Dial, who was a pretty well-regarded actor. He was a character actor with a great voice. He was narrator of the BBC radio horror series Appointment with Fear and played the Black Guardian during the Tom Baker era of Doctor Who.
Yep. And I know him from The City of the Dead with Christopher Lee, which is one of the ones I was saying. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
So yeah, a lot of these tracks will have this very dramatic voice narration, and then we go into back to the synths. It's
like trippy, psychedelic, little experimental 80s synths. It's something.
Yeah, because like I think none of these composers talk to each other. They all were just given some track titles and just bang out something fantasy related, and we'll work it in. Like I can't imagine anybody actually talk to someone else making music for this thing because there's very little connection between tracks.
Yeah. I think the only two that would have maybe talked to each other are Dave Miller and Phil Thornton because they were in a band together. Like that's how Dave Miller got dragged into it because Phil Thornton looked like I'd not heard of him, of course, but had like a pretty long career doing like all kinds of stuff in the UK. Probably still to this day.
Yeah, he has a website that was last updated October 2024, which is...
In content, sure. In terms of design, I'm going to say 1994. It's a beautiful site.
Yeah. Honestly, I appreciate the
it's nice to have something that
GeoCities
loads immediately instead of 80 JavaScript shit under the hood to track who I am for Facebook. So that's refreshing. But they were in a band together called Expandus, which is actually up on Bandcamp still. They released stuff in like 2018, I think, most recently. And it's very close to this, but just sounds more modern by virtue of being 30 years later. But it's this very kind of like weird experimental, like electronic music.
Yeah. But yeah, we can start getting into individual tracks because there's a lot to go over. I mean, there's like 21, 22 tracks.
Yeah.
And it starts out kind of like a 1980s fantasy movie soundtrack, like track one. You know, more synthwavy than what we would call dungeon synth. But again, this is before those genres really existed.
It's just poppy. It's just poppy for the time, which I thought was interesting. Like immediately, I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah. And then like track two, has that little heartbeat, soundscape thing, the Blood Guard. That's always fun. We get cheerful tavern dancing music, and then
which is the elves apparently.
You love the elves. We love that for the elves. And the Sorcerer's Apprentice, a little bubbly, bouncy, kind of like, here's what synths can do, So I quite like that. And then, of course, we mentioned Caravan because the Heroes Ride Out.
Yeah.
Rather than going every single track, like
it's a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah. There's just such a variety. I think. Let's see here. Track 11, The Gates of Hell, I believe.
A10, I think, is how it's listed on the cassette.
Yeah. is fucking wild. It's some like Hotline Miami.
Mm-hmm. So you linked me that article on the Retroist or whatever about this.
Yeah.
Did you read some of that quote? So there's a quote that's like a forum post, I guess, from, I don't know, probably 10 years ago at this point, from David Miller talking about working with Phil Thornton. They're the ones that did one of his tracks. He says, quote, "It was, as I say, a lot of fun doing this and would incorporate such unorthodox techniques as mildly tormenting one of his young infant children so as to receive some authentically pitiful cries of despair." So I think that's what that sampling is on this track.
Yeah.
That's what all that gurgling and crying and stuff is. It's just his recording his kid. It's effective.
Yeah. And he also talked about how he's so so respectful of Valentine and as a narrator. "I'm afraid I wrote his voiceover script and it was especially mediocre, and I cringe even to this day when I hear it. It's like he deserved much better than that."
Then if we're going to order, we get into the track that I want to talk about, which is the Living Dead track of B1. This one made my ears perk up because it's by Dennis Haynes, who, when I saw the name, I was like, oh, I don't know who that is. But it turns out he released music, did his film composing as Francis Haynes. And as Francis Haynes, he did the soundtrack, or at least the trioxin theme for Return of the Living Dead, which this sounds like an early cut of. It has like all the same elements. It's got like that same like pounding bass going on. It's got the same little chord motions and stuff. It's like he's doing some like James Horner self-plagiarism, technically, not maliciously, but you know.
Yeah, that is 100% Return of the Living Dead. I listened to this. I actually put it up to. I couldn't remember the movie though. I couldn't remember where I'd heard it from, so I Shazammed it to sort of try and like identify it, and I couldn't. I was like, "Damn it, what is this from?" But like now that I think of Return of the Living Dead, a movie I've seen like a dozen times, like I was like, "Yep, that's 100% an offcut of that." It's so good, so good. And that's the thing about again, this album is like, how would you make this fit in? How is this D&D like? Yeah, it's so funny. I also really liked track 15, Dragon's Passage, because it sounds like a video game boss music. Like they have a really good dragon's roar in it, and like it. Let's see.
Are you counting track numbers on the YouTube description?
Yeah. I thought
I'm just going by the Discog tracks.
Yeah.
So Dragon's Passage is B4 from a group, The Device.
Anyways, I quite liked it. Even like later on, we have some more like it gets like I said, very experimental. There's like one track that's very like prog rocky, very psychedelic, and really like the last track for me is almost like a pop song. Well, there's like the next last track is like a pop track, almost very upbeat.
It's like outro credits.
Yeah, and then we have the sad guitar music with strings.
The Aftermath by GP Hall.
The game is over. We have to leave. We have to go back to reality now.
You probably died because no one play tested this adventure.
Yeah.
It's probably
too dangerous.
It's what happened. Yeah, it was also famously the era of making that shit really hard. It's a peak OSR.
Oh yeah.
Nonsense.
Boy, they do. And this is just before his old school. It was just the way games were done back then.
Just the way it was at the time.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, Tomb of Horror is a good example. Yep. Yeah, I actually thought the back half of this track, like once it kind of calms down, it's pretty interesting. Like I think that starts maybe around, like Wandering Monsters, Hall of Spiders, Dragon Passages, that sort of group, which are kind of more experimental, like mysterious, weird. But then fucking Room of Pools comes back and Dennis Haynes is back injecting his own weird shit in the middle, which is just like theremin pulsing. Like sounds like a 50s sci-fi soundtrack. Yeah. Sounds like This Island Earth or some shit out of nowhere. And it's just back to the Lost Cave. It's just one of these things where it's like stuff was just probably like put together. You know, I don't know how they decided to, because then Lost Caves and in the Sorcerer's Cave are much more back to what you think of as like sword and sorcery style synth of the time. Like that's I think of like soundtracks of that era and stuff.
Oh, for sure.
Like, God, I'm sure we've talked about it here, but there's that Lucio Fulci movie Sorcerer. It has like an amazing synth soundtrack. It's about this time. It's about 85, 86, I think. And that's really what I thought of in the last half.
There's a Fulci film called Sorcerer?
Or no, sorry, Conquest. Sorry.
Oh, Conquest. Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
I remember
sorry.
Like, wait a minute.
Sorcerer. Yeah, no, Conquest. Sorry. Yeah. But it's got like this type of, it was a couple years before this, but it's got this type of like really cool experimental soundtrack. Like from the synth of the time. It's great.
Yeah.
Soundtrack's probably better than the movie, honestly.
Yeah. Fulci really cranked out movies for a while.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. Also, listening to this album is interesting in the context of listening to like contemporary dungeon synth and synthwave and chillwave and these other genres that are inspired by this actual era. And like, you know, if Wizards of the Coast for some reason decided to make a dungeon synth album, it wouldn't sound like this. Like it would sound like some of these tracks, but not all of them. It'd be way more consistent. It would actually have some sort of integration into the product or into like whatever adventure module they were writing with it. But like, I really like this throw stuff at a wall and see what sticks, and just, it's okay. It sounds cool and interesting. And, you know, these nerds will buy anything with D&D slapped on it. So who cares? I mean, I'm sure they cared, but yeah, they just got to get it out, you know, see if this will work. It was very experimental. And it's funny because like now there, at least Merkborg, which is a grim, dark, heavy metal version of D&D, or like inspired by D&D, but also by black metal. Someone's put out a vinyl album with a Merkborg adventure on it. So
yeah, didn't we do it on the show?
Or we did do it on the show.
Yeah, okay, I thought so. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. There's Merkborg, the album, which is an HDK cassette release, but there's also Putrescence Regent, which is a bog crawl adventure released as a vinyl album. I don't even know if that has a vinyl release, or I mean a digital release. So I know we definitely did the Merkborg HDK Dungeon Synth album. Right. I don't know. Putrescence. I don't know if that was actually released on there, but like, and I think there have been one or two other like OSR adventures released on vinyl as well. I want to say like there's a weird Western game called Frontier Scum that has a vinyl. Tides of Rot. Yeah. So yeah, it's kind of going full circle. Like this one experimental thing led to a bunch of releases decades later. So, but yeah, it's an interesting bit of gaming history, bit of interesting like music history. Because it's interesting, like the fact that they got so many composers who would go on to have very long and productive careers in music, and not just a bunch of people who did this and never worked again, or you never heard of them. You know, they got these new wave band artists and actual composers, and like, yeah, they just threw this together, which is a fun listen, even if it's not consistent. It's a bit cheesy.
It's cheesy. I've been hyper focused now on what like a modern Wizards of the Coast version of this would sound like, and it's not good. I mean, it would be full of slop, first of all, right? Like they've gone pretty hard on. Like,
they've waffled on it.
They've waffled on it. Okay, I remember them being like one of the early adopters of.
Well, the pushback's been so bad that they've kind of like walked it back a little. But like, I feel like they're just trying to figure out how to use it in a way that won't get them caught out. So,
basically, yeah. And I just think it would be like so. It would be so marketing clean. It would lack the like, because I make fun of this. Oh, it's all over the place. You know, Caravan doesn't really sound like a Caravan track. It's just funny to me. It's not like Caravan's a bad track, and it just makes this like kind of weird little artifact of its time. And I think a Wizards of the Coast one now wouldn't be. It would just be so like sanitized. I think it would be like so calculated that it just it would lack the charm.
Yeah, I agree. I think it would be pretty safe. I think, honestly, they probably do like, oh God, I just can't imagine D&D lo-fi hip hop.
I'm sure. Yeah. Oh man. Oh yeah. I bet it exists. I'm sure somebody will link it. Yeah.
Well, I'm not official though. Like, I mean, I'm
sure.
Undoubtedly there's fantasy lo-fi hip hop stuff. And
okay. Yeah. True.
But like, that's independent artists, not Wizards of the Coast. So Anyway, fun album, fun bit of music history, and it's on YouTube. You can listen to the whole thing for free.
Yeah,
now.
I would go check it out. It's interesting enough to check out. It's a weird little artifact of its time, and that's the biggest thing it's got going for it. And it does have people who had go on to have interesting-ish careers. It's not like, Danny Elfman's on here. So I'm trying to think of a UK person or something. I don't know why Danny Elfman popped in my head. I think because he has a very characteristic style. You kind of know a Danny Elfman track when you hear it.
Yeah, no kidding.
But I think it's interesting. And that Living Dead snipe fucked me up.
Yeah.
So that was worth it too, just for that.
Yeah, exactly. Good on him for using, he's like, nobody's going to hear this that sees that movie. Nobody will put this together. I get paid for 2 tracks and only do the work for 1 track. Good on you for getting 2 paychecks there.
That's right. That's right.
All right. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. Be sure to check out the album. We'll have links in the show notes. Our next episode will be September New Music. I don't know what that will be yet because I have
no idea. We're back to old fashioned, just picking randomly and see what we get. Yeah. I have no plans. I haven't even looked at anything in any real capacity.
There's no a big release from an artist who hasn't released for several years and just dropped a hot new album. So,
and not that I know of.
Very inconvenient for us.
Yeah, do better.
Yeah. But don't forget, we're on Blue Sky and we have a website. And if you join our Patreon, patreon.com/nightclerkradio, you can join our Discord community where we have a lot of fun, active discussion and sharing of links. We also do a Patreon bonus episode every month, which is, we've been talking about DIY hardware lately. And and so it's a lot of fun. And of course, pays the hosting bills for this and all that. And we are on. Don't forget to rate and review us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, whatever you use to listen to podcasts, and spread the word among your friends, your enemies, your frenemies, and the members of your adventuring party. Obviously. Yeah. So go forth, adventurers, and return the crystal chalice.
Always read the magic book. Always read it out loud.
Yeah.
Do it. Never gone wrong.
Never. All right. We'll talk to you later. Bye.
Bye.